Imagine a man, let's call him Lucas. Lucas is the type of person who shows up when his friend moves apartments on a rainy Sunday. Lucas is there with boxers. When his partner has a bad day, Lucas is the one listening until 2 a.m., absorbing their stress so they don't have to carry it alone. He is loyal. He is consistent. He plays by the rules of human connection. If I treat you well, you treat me well. If I invest in you, we grow together. But then something shifts. It starts subtly. A text message that takes 3 days to answer, a coldness in the tone, plans get canceled at the last minute. Suddenly, the person Lucas invested his most valuable resource in his, maybe it's a breakup, maybe it's a friend who ghosted him, maybe it's a business partner who betrayed him. Lucas is left standing in the wreckage of that relationship, holding the pieces, asking the question that haunts every single one of us in the quiet moments of the night. What did I do wrong? He replays the tapes. He analyzes every conversation. He scans his memory for his mistakes. But the math doesn't add up. He was good. He was faithful. So why is he alone? If you are watching this, you are Lucas. You have felt the sharp sting of an unexpected departure. You have felt the confusion of doing everything right and still getting the wrong outcome. Most people will tell you it's just bad luck. They will say there are plenty of fish in the sea. They will give you platitudes that feel like cheap bandages on a bullet wound. But I am not here to give you platitudes. I am here to tell you that your math is wrong. You think you lost something. Your brain, specifically a part we will talk about called the anterior cingulate cortex, is screaming that you are in danger because you, VA, been separated from the tribe. But what if I told you that you didn't lose anything? What if I told you that what feels like a rejection is actually a biological and spiritual protection mechanism? To understand why Godot, if you prefer, the intelligence of the universe removes people, we first have to understand why we fight so hard to keep them. In psychology, there is a concept popularized by Daniel Kahneman called loss aversion. The concept is simple but brutal. The pain of losing is psychologically about twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining. This means if you find $100 on the street, you feel a spike of happiness. But if you lose $100 from your wallet, the misery you feel is double the intensity of the happiness you felt finding it. We are hardwired to hoard. We are hardwired to cling to things, even things that are depreciating in value. Now, apply this to people. You are holding on to relationships that are spiritually bankrupt. Connections that drain your dopamine, spike your cortisol, and offer zero return on investment for your soul. But because of loss aversion, you fight to keep them. You pray for them to stay. You beg. You negotiate. You are fighting against your own upgrade. See, nature has a different protocol. It's called pruning. If you look at a vineyard, a master gardener does something that looks violent to the untrained eye. He walks up to a healthy-looking branch that has green leaves, a branch that looks alive, and he cuts it off, snaps it, throws it in the fire. If the grapevine could talk, it would scream. It would say, "Why are you hurting me? I spent energy growing that branch. That branch was part of me." But the gardener knows something the vine doesn't. He knows that specific branch, while looking green, is a sucker shoot. It sucks nutrients from the root but produces no fruit. If he leaves it there, the vine will look big, but it will be barren. It will be full of leaves, but empty of purpose. God removes people from your life because He is not interested in your comfort. He is interested in your fruitfulness. He is not interested in how full your life looks. He is interested in the quality of your energy. This video is not about how to get them back. This video is an autopsy of why they had to leave. We are going to dissect the neuroscience of attachment, the physics of resonance, and the spiritual law of separation. We are going to look at why your brain tricks you into missing toxicity and how to override that signal. By the end of this series, you won't look at that empty chair in your life with sadness. You will look at it with relief. You will understand that the removal wasn't an accident. It was an extraction operation. Let's begin the surgery. Most people will close this video within the first 3 minutes because the truth is uncomfortable. If you are one of the few who seeks real understanding and not just comfort, leave your like now. This signals to the algorithm man, to yourself, that you are a seeker. Let's begin. I know what you're thinking as you listen to this. It's easy to talk about pruning when you are not the one bleeding. It's easy to use agricultural metaphors about vines and branches when you aren't waking up at 3 a.m. reaching for a phone that will never ring again. When you are in the middle of the removal, it doesn't feel like a divine upgrade. It feels like amputation without anesthesia. And this brings us to the crux of the human problem. We are terrible judges of our own present reality. Psychologists refer to a phenomenon known as the hindsight bias. It's the tendency, after an event has occurred, to see the event as having been predictable, despite there having been little or no objective basis for predicting it at the time. We are masters of looking backward and saying, I should have seen the red flags. But we are incompetent at seeing them in real time. Why? Because when you are in a relationship, you are in what military strategists call the fog of war. Your vision is obscured by emotions, dopamine hitches history, and the desperate hope that things will return to how they used to be. You cannot read the label when you are trapped inside the jar. This is where the concept of a higher intelligence god, the universe, the architect, becomes practically relevant. Not just religiously comforting. Imagine life as a complex chess game. You are a piece on the board, perhaps a pawn, or maybe a knight. Your perspective is limited to the squares immediately surrounding you. You can only see the immediate threats and the immediate opportunities. You see the piece right in front of you that you desperately want to capture or protect, but you cannot see the whole board. God is the grandmaster playing the game. The grandmaster doesn't just see the piece in front of you. He sees the entire board configuration. He sees 10, 20, 50 moves ahead. When God removes a person from your life, it's because he sees a checkmate looming 10 moves down the line that you are completely oblivious to. You are crying because you lost a pawn you loved. He is operating to save your king, your soul, your purpose, your future. The person who left or who was forcefully removed may have been a massive roadblock sitting right in the middle of your future path. But because you haven't traveled that path yet, you don't see them as an obstacle. You see them as a companion. You are mourning the loss of a travel partner, unaware that they were holding the map upside down and steering you toward a cliff. We have been conditioned to believe that good means comfortable and bad means painful. This is a toddler's definition of life. If you go to the gym and lift heavy weights, your muscle fibers tear. It hurts. You are sore the next day. Is that bad? No. It is the necessary physiological precursor to growth hypertrophy. The removal of people is spiritual hypertrophy. It tears the fibers of your emotional attachment, and it hurts hellishly. But it is the only way to build the capacity to carry the weight of your true destiny. If you are surrounded by people who affirm your limitations rather than challenge your potential, you will remain small. You will be comfortable, but you will be stagnant. In nature, stagnation is the first step toward death. So, where do we go from here? We are about to stop using metaphors and start looking at mechanisms. If you are an intellectual seeker, you need more than just trust the process. You need to understand how the process works, so your logical mind can stop fighting your spiritual level. In the next sections, we are going into the lab. We are going to look at the neuroscience of why your brain treats social rejection like physical pain. We are going to explore the concepts of cognitive dissonance and energetic resonance to understand why you vibed out of that relationship. We will categorize the types of people who leave the anchors, the vampires, the tourists, and finally, we will show you what to do with the silence that follows the departure. How to inhabit the fertile void without rushing to fill it with noise. The surgery has begun. The anesthesia is wearing off. Now, we look at the wound with clear eyes. Let's strip away the poetry for a moment. Let's stop talking about souls and start talking about synapses. When someone is removed from your life, especially someone you did not want to leave you, feel a very specific type of devastation. You feel a tightness in your chest, a pit in your stomach, a physical lethargy that makes getting out of bed feel like lifting 500 pounds. People will tell you it's emotional pain. You just need to move on. Science tells us that is a lie. In the early 2000s, neuroscientists made a discovery that changed how we understand human connection forever. They put people in fMRI machine scanners that watched the brain work in real time. They monitored two groups: people who were experiencing physical pain like a hot probe on their skin, people who were looking at photos of ex-partners who had recently rejected them. Here is the terrifying result. The brain lit up in the exact same places. Specifically, a region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex dACC. This is the brain's alarm system for distress. What does this mean for you, the intellectual seeker? It means that as far as your brain is concerned, a breakup, a betrayal, or a sudden departure is not sadness. It is physical injury. Your neurons are processing the social rejection exactly as if you had broken your leg or been burned by fire. Why would evolution design us this way? Why make emotional loss hurt physically? Because for 99% of human history, isolation meant death. If you were a hunter-gatherer on the savannah 50,000 years ago, and you were removed from your tribe, you didn't just get sad, you got eaten. You froze. You starved. Solitude was not a lifestyle choice. It was a death sentence. So, your brain evolved a brutal mechanism to keep you connected. Pain. Your brain developed a threat system that screams, go back. Fix it. Beg them to stay. Whenever a connection is severed, it creates physical agony to force you to repair the social bond. Just like it creates physical agony when you touch a hot stove to force you to pull your hand away. This is why you feel the urge to text them. This is why you humiliate yourself trying to get closure. This is why you tolerate toxic behavior just to avoid the silence. It is not because you are weak. It is not because you are too emotional. It is because you are a biological machine designed for survival in a world that no longer exists. Here is the problem. We are running Paleolithic software in a modern environment. Today, if a toxic person leaves your life, you are not going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. In fact, their departure might be the very thing that saves your mental health. But your ancient brain doesn't know that. It only knows the algorithm. Separation equals danger. So you are in a war. On one side, you have your prefrontal cortex, your logic, your spirit, the voice of God telling you, let them go, they were hurting you. On the other side, you have your limbic system and that dACC screaming, danger, we are alone. Reconnect at all costs. This internal conflict is what creates the confusion, intellectually that the removal is for the best, but you feel physically that it is a disaster. Understanding this is the first step to freedom. You have to realize that the pain you are feeling is not a sign that you made a mistake. It is not a sign that you should go back. It is simply a false alarm from an outdated security system. Think of the removal like a phantom limb. When a soldier loses an arm, they often still feel the fingers itching or cramping for months. The arm is gone, but the neural map remains. When God removes someone, the person is gone. But the neural pathways you built around them, the good morning texts, the Sunday routines, the shared inside jokes, those pathways are still firing. You are feeling the cramp of a limb that has been amputated for your own survival. The pain is real, but the source of the pain is a memory, not a reality. In the next part, we are going to talk about why it's not just Puneet's addiction. We are going to look at dopamine and oxytocin, and why your brain treats a toxic ex exactly like a heroin addict treats a needle. If rejection is the pain, then the person you lost was the drug. This isn't a metaphor. It is biology. When you bond with someone, your brain releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals. The two main players are oxytocin and dopamine. Oxytocin is the cuddle hormone. It's the glue. It's what makes you feel safe, trusting, and connected. It's what makes a mother bond with her infant. When you hug someone you love or have deep conversation, you are marinating your brain in oxytocin. Dopamine is the reward chemical. It's the molecule of more. It drives you to seek pleasure and repeat behaviors that feel good. Now, here is the twist that ruins lives. Dopamine flows strongest, not when the reward is guaranteed, but when it is unpredictable. This is called intermittent reinforcement. Think of a slot machine. If you pull the lever and won every single time, you would get bored. If you pulled the lever and never won, you would walk away. But the casino knows the secret. You win sometimes, you don't know when. It could be the next pool. This unpredictability spikes dopamine to levels similar to cocaine use. Now, think about the person who got just removed from your life. Were they consistent, or were they a slot machine? Did they ignore you for 2 days? Anxiety, only to send you a loving text on the 3rd day? Huge dopamine hit? Did they criticize you on Monday pain, but praise you on Tuesday relief? If you were in a relationship with someone inconsistent, toxic, or emotionally unavailable, your brain was on a chemical roller coaster. You weren't just in love or good friends. You were addicted to the unpredictability. When they are removed, you go into literal withdrawal. You are shaking, you are obsessive. You think, I must really love them because it hurts this much. No, you don't love them. You are detoxing from them. God removes these people because they have hijacked your reward system. You cannot find peace while you are addicted to chaos. The removal is the start of rehab. There is one final biological hurdle: homeostasis. In biology, homeostasis is the body's obsession with keeping things the same. Your body fights to keep your temperature at 37 degrees Celsius. If it goes up, you sweat. If it goes down, you shiver. Your social life also has a thermostat. Your brain gets used to a certain temperature of existence, even if that temperature is freezing cold. If you are used to being undervalued, if you are used to fighting for attention, that is your normal. That is your set point. When God removes the source of that drama, the temperature changes. Suddenly, it's quiet. There is no drama. There is no one to chase. And your brain panics. It screams, "This is wrong. It's too quiet." We need to go back to the chaos we know. This is why people sabotage their own healing. This is why the Israelites, after being freed from slavery in Egypt, begged to go back. They said, "At least in Egypt we had food." They preferred the certainty of slavery to the uncertainty of freedom. You are standing at that same border. The person is gone. The chains are off. But the desert of freedom feels scary, and your brain is trying to trick you into running back to the cage. So let's summarize the diagnosis. The pain you feel is a biological error signal, dACC. The longing you feel is a chemical withdrawal, dopamine. The urge to return is a fear of the unknown, homeostasis. None of these are spiritual truths. They are biological glitches. Now that we have diagnosed the machine, we can start to look at the architect. Why did the pruning happen now? And what are the laws governing who stays and who goes? Let's move to the mechanics of the removal. We live in a culture that worships addition. More friends, more followers, more contacts, more dates. We believe that accumulation is the sign of success. But biology teaches us the exact opposite. When a human baby is born, their brain is a mess of connections. A 2-year-old child has roughly 50% more synapses, neural connections, than an adult. You might think, wow, the child must be smarter than the adult because they have more connections. But no, the child is chaotic. They have no focus. They have no mastery. Their brain is noisy because everything is connected to everything else. For that child to become a functioning, intelligent adult, the brain must perform a process called synaptic pruning. It is a ruthless biological deletion. The brain identifies the pathways that are not being used, the connections that are weak or inefficient, and it kills them. It destroys billions of connections. Why? Because intelligence is not about how much you can hold. It is about how efficiently you can process. To master the violin, your brain has to prune away the noise so that the music pathways can become. Now, zoom out. Your social life functions exactly like a brain. Every person you know, every friend, every ex-partner you still text, every family member you feel obligated to please, they are all synapses in your social network. Each one requires energy to maintain. Each one takes up bandwidth in your cognitive processing. When you are young, you are like that toddler. You want to be friends with everyone. You want to be popular. You collect people. But as you mature, as you start to discover your purpose, your music, you realize that you cannot play a symphony if you are distracted by noise. God is the neurosurgeon of your life. He looks at your network and sees connections that were useful when you were 20, but are obsolete now that you are 30. He sees people who take up massive amounts of bandwidth but contribute zero signal. He realizes that for you to reach your next level of intelligence, influence, and spiritual power, you don't need more people. You need fewer, stronger connections. He initiates synaptic pruning in your reality. The pain you feel comes from a misunderstanding the contract. We grow up believing the Disney lie that relationships are meant to last forever. We measure the success of a friendship or relationship by its duration. We've been friends for 10 years. I can't just let them go. Let's look at nature. A cell in your body has a specific lifespan. A red blood cell lives for about 120 days. Once it has fulfilled its purpose, it undergoes apoptosis programmed cell death and is replaced. If that red blood cell refused to leave, if it decided to stay forever, it would become toxic. It would clog the system. It would become cancer. Many people in your life were not assigned to you for the duration of your life. They were assigned for a season. They were red blood cells meant to carry oxygen to you during a specific crisis, or to teach you a specific lesson. Once the lesson is learned, their contract expires. If you try to keep an expired person in your life because of loyalty or history, you are effectively trying to keep a dead cell in your body. You are creating spiritual cancer. The removal is not a punishment. It is the system clearing out the expired cells so that new oxygen-rich blood can flow in. There is a fundamental law in physics called the second law of thermodynamics. It introduces the concept of entropy. Entropy states that closed systems naturally tend toward disorder, chaos, and decay over time. If you leave a house alone for 20 years, it doesn't stay the same. It rots, dust settles, the roof collapses. To keep a system ordered to keep a relationship alive requires a constant injection of new energy. This brings us to the harsh reality of your social circle. Many of the people God is removing are people with whom you have hit maximum entropy. You are the only one injecting energy. You are the only one texting first. You are the only one planning the dates. You are the only one forgiving. You are fighting the laws of physics alone. When you stop injecting that energy even for a week, the relationship collapses. That is not a relationship. That is a hostage situation. God removes these people because He knows your energy is finite. Every joule of energy you spend propping up a decaying relationship is a joule of energy you are not spending on your purpose, your health, or your future. We often trick ourselves into thinking, well, this friend isn't toxic. They aren't bad. They're just ... there. It doesn't hurt to keep them. This is the neutrality fallacy. In biology, there is no such thing as a neutral tissue. Every cell in your body consumes glucose. Every cell consumes oxygen. If a cell is taking resources but performing no function, it is not neutral. It is parasitic. Look at the dead branch on a tree again. It blocks sunlight from reaching the lower, healthy leaves. It becomes a breeding ground for fungus and insects that can infect the rest of the tree. A neutral friend who questions your dreams, who distracts you with petty gossip, or who demands your time just to alleviate their boredom, is an energetic parasite. They are occupying a slot in your life. There is a cognitive limit to how many close connections a human can handle. We will discuss Dunbar's number later. If your slots are full of neutral people, you have no space for the exceptional people God is trying to send you. You are fully booked with mediocrity. Let's look at the economics of your soul. In economics, opportunity cost defines the value of the next best alternative that you give up when you make a choice. If you spend 3 hours on Friday night listening to a friend complain about the same problem they've refused to fix for 5 years, the cost is not just 3 hours. The cost is the book you didn't write, the sleep you didn't get, the gym session you missed, the peace of mind you sacrificed. God is an economist. He calculates the opportunity cost of your attachments. He sees that the cost of keeping this person is too high. You are paying for their presence with your destiny, and the price is inflation adjusted. It gets more expensive every single year you wait. Sometimes you don't have the strength to do the math. You are too emotional. You are too loyal. So God exercises a divine veto. He creates a situation of fight, a betrayal, a geographical move that forces the separation. He plays the role of the bad guy so you don't have to. He breaks the branch because you were too afraid to pick up the shears. When this happens, Do not try to glue the branch back on. Do not mourn the rot. Thank the gardener. He just lowered your entropy and increased your potential energy. We often use the slang. We just didn't vibe anymore. But what does that actually mean? In physics, resonance occurs when one object vibrating at the same natural frequency as a second object forces the second object into vibrational motion. If you hit a tuning fork at 440 Hz, another tuning fork at 440 Hz across the room will start humming without being touched. This is connection. This is being on the same wavelength. But what happens when you change? Let's say you start working on your mental health. You start praying, you start reading, you stop gossiping. You're effectively retuning your internal instrument from 440 Hz to 880 Hz. The people around you are still vibrating at 440 Hz. Suddenly, resonance stops. You can stand right next to them, but you don't move them anymore, and they don't move you. The conversation feels flat. The jokes aren't funny. The connection is dead. It's not because you are arrogant. It's not because they are evil. It is a simple law of physics. Different frequencies cannot resonate. But it gets worse. It's not just a lack of resonance. It creates destructive interference in sound waves. If two waves are out of sync, they cancel each other out. They create silence or noise when you bring your new high-frequency self-hope, discipline, vision into a low-frequency environment, cynicism, laziness, drama. You create noise. The removal of these people is the universe correcting the signal. You are being moved to a place where your new frequency can find resonance rather than interference. Have you ever noticed that when you start doing better, losing weight, making money, finding God, some of your friends get angry, they make snide comments, they say, "You've changed. You think you're better than us. Why does your success feel like an attack on them?" This is cognitive dissonance. Your friends have built a mental model of who you are. To them, you are Lucas, the guy who drinks with us on Fridays, or Sarah, the girl who complains about her job. That version of you fits into their worldview. It makes them feel safe. It validates their own stagnation. When you change, you break their model. Your improvement holds up a mirror to their lack of improvement. Without you saying a word, your discipline highlights their laziness. Your faith highlights their nihilism. Psychologically, this causes them pain. It creates dissonance mental stress caused by holding two conflicting beliefs. I am doing fine in life. My friend just leveled up, which means I am actually falling behind. To resolve this pain, they have two choices. A, they can level up with you resonance. B, they can reject you to protect their ego removal. 95% of people choose option B. They don't hate you. They hate the dissonance you'll cause them. They remove themselves, or God removes them, so they can return to the comfort of their stagnation without you constantly reminding them of what they could be. You are likely experiencing the crab bucket effect. If you put one crab in a bucket, it can climb out. If you put 10 crabs in a bucket, whenever one tries to climb out, the others will grab its legs and pull it back down. They don't pull it down because they want to eat it. They pull it down because if you escape, it proves that escape was possible, and we are just too lazy to do it. God removes the other crabs not because he hates them, but because he knows that gravity plus peer pressure equals a guaranteed death sentence for your potential. He is kicking the bucket over so you can run. We like to believe that our capacity for love and connection is infinite. Spiritually, perhaps it is. But biologically, you are strictly limited. In the 1990s, British anthropologist Robin Dunbar discovered a hard limit to the number of people a human brain can maintain a stable social relationship with. But it gets much tighter. 150 is the number of people you can invite to a wedding. Five is your inner circle, closest loved ones. Think of these slots like seats in a VIP lounge. You might be praying for a soulmate. You might be praying for a business partner. But when they look inside, every seat is taken by a relic from your past. The soulmate cannot enter because your toxic ship is occupying that seat. Think of your brain like a computer's RAM random access memory. Every person you are close to runs a background process in your brain. Even when you aren't with them, a part of your CPU is dedicated to simulating their reactions, remembering their problems, and tracking their emotional state. He crashes those programs, not to be mean, but to save the hardware. When a person is removed, you feel the silence. That silence is not emptiness, it is freed up RAM. Suddenly, your system runs faster. You have clarity. You have energy to work on your dreams. This leads us to the final law of mechanics. Nature abhors a vacuum. When God clears a slot in your inner 5 or your sympathy 15, by removing the anchors, people who hold you down, Autantesis critico must allow the vacuum to exist for a moment. If you panic and immediately fill that empty seat with another toxic person just to avoid being alone, you break the cycle of elevation. You must sit with the empty chair. You must trust that the emptiness is a reservation sign for something better. We have now covered the biology, why it hurts, and the mechanics, why it's necessary. We are going to name the demons so you can recognize them when they leave. Through my work in neurophilosophy and counseling, I have identified 3 distinct archetypes of people who are most frequently removed from the lives of those seeking growth. You will recognize them immediately. They have names. The first archetype is the most painful to lose because they are rarely bad people. The anchor is in love with version 1.0 of you. They use nostalgia as a weapon. They are not trying to hurt you. They are trying to force you back into the container that makes them comfortable. Your growth highlights their stagnation. God removes the anchor because he knows you can not sail to a new continent while tethered to the shore of your past. You don't fight, you just run out of things to talk about. The resonance dies. Let them go. They are the historians of your life, not the architects of your future. The second archetype is more dangerous. They text you at 2 a.m. with a crisis. They are victims of a world that is always against them. You cannot build a stable empire on an unstable foundation. When this person is removed, you will feel bored at first. Remember the withdrawal. You will miss the drama. But realize that boring is just another word for peace. The vampire cannot survive in the light of clarity. So when you turn on the lights of self-awareness, they burn up and leave. The final archetype is the most confusing one. These are people who were good to you. They helped you. You had amazing times together. And then, for no apparent reason, they drift away. Or circumstances force them out. We call this person the seasonal tourist. To understand this, you must understand the difference between a cornerstone and scaffolding. When you build a skyscraper, you need scaffolding. It is ugly, metal, temporary structure that surrounds the building. It is absolutely essential for the construction phase. You cannot build a tower without it. But then this is critical. Once the building is finished, the scaffolding must be removed. If you leave the scaffolding up after the building is done, it obscures the beauty of the architecture. It blocks the entrance. It becomes a hazard. God sends scaffolding people into your life during specific seasons of construction. Maybe they were there to help you survive a divorce. Maybe they were there to mentor you in your first job. Maybe they were a college roommate who taught you how to socialize. They served a vital purpose, but their contract had an expiration date. The problem is that you are trying to turn scaffolding into a cornerstone. You are trying to make a permanent resident out of a seasonal worker. When God removes a seasonal Taurus, it is not a tragedy. It is a graduation ceremony. It is the universe saying, the construction phase is over. You are ready to stand on your own. It is time to reveal the building. We must go deeper here. Sometimes the seasonal tourist doesn't just drift away. Sometimes they betray you. Sometimes they push you off a cliff. This brings us to the Judas paradox. In the Christian narrative, Judas Iscariot is the villain. He betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. But look at the mechanics of the story. Without Judas, there is no arrest. Without the arrest, there is no crucifixion. Without the crucifixion, there is no resurrection. Judas was a catalyst agent. His role was to force the transition from teacher to savior in your life. God will sometimes allow a Judas, someone who hurts you so deeply that you are forced to change, someone who fires you, cheats on you, or lies about you. You hate them, but look at where you are now. That breakup forced you to hit the gym and reinvent yourself. That firing forced you to start the business you always dreamed of. They were not your enemy. They were your unsuspecting elevator. They pressed their down button so you could shoot up. When these people are removed, do not waste energy on revenge. You don't write angry letters to the scaffolding for being taken down. You acknowledge its purpose and you let it go. So, look at the empty chair in your life right now. Who was sitting there? Was it an anchor? Someone who loved your past but hated your future? Was it a dopamine vampire? Someone who fed on your energy and gave nothing back? Was it a seasonal Taurus? Someone who taught you a lesson and whose time simply ran out. Identifying the archetype breaks the spell. It turns sadness into strategy. Now that we know who they were, we need to understand the mechanism of the future. Why is a no from God actually a yes to something else? We live our lives based on a single, flawed premise. I know what is best for me. You look at that person who left and you say, if they had stayed, I would be happy. You look at that failed business partnership and say, if it had worked, I would be successful. I have news for you. Scientifically speaking, you are wrong. Harvard psychologist Dan Gilbert has spent decades studying a phenomenon called affective forecasting. It is the study of how good humans are at predicting their future emotional states based on future events. The conclusion: we are catastrophically bad at it. We consistently overestimate how happy a specific relationship will make us, and we consistently overestimate how destroyed we will be if we lose it. We are blind prophets. You are crying over a person because you have created a fantasy future in your head. In this fantasy, the relationship works perfectly. You get married, you have kids, you grow old together. But that future never existed. It is a simulation running in your prefrontal cortex. God, however, does not deal in simulations. He deals in... Imagine you are driving a car on a winding mountain road. You are approaching a blind curve. You cannot see what is around the corner, but you are confident. You want to speed up. Suddenly, a massive boulder falls in front of you. You slam on the brakes. You are furious. You scream at the universe. Why did you stop me? I was making such good time. What you couldn't see is that around that blind curve, the bridge had collapsed. If you had kept going at your speed, you would have fallen to your death. The boulder wasn't an obstacle. It was a barricade. When God removes a person, He is placing a boulder in your path. You wanted to marry them. God saw the divorce in year 5 that would destroy your finances. You wanted to be business partners. God saw the embezzlement in year 3 that would send you to jail. You wanted to keep that friend. God saw the influence that would drag you back into an addiction you fought so hard to escape. You are crying because you hit the boulder. God is relieved because you didn't go off the cliff. Think of a toddler finding a sharp steak knife. 2. The toddler, the knife is shiny. It looks fun. They reach for it. A loving parent immediately slaps the knife out of the child's hand. The child cries. The child screams. The child looks at the parent and thinks, "You are evil. You took away my shiny toy. I hate you." The child lacks the cognitive capacity to understand that the no saved their life. Right now, you are the toddler. The toxic relationship is the knife. You are screaming at God because He took it away. But spiritual maturity is realizing that the rejection was actually divine protection. There is a saying, sometimes God breaks your heart to save your soul. I will rephrase that for the intellectual seeker. Sometimes God interrupts your dopamine loop to prevent a system-wide crash. The scariest thing about this protection is that you will never know what you were saved from. Because the bridge didn't collapse under your car, you assumed the bridge was safe. Because the relationship ended before the abuse started, you assumed they were the one. This is the ultimate test of faith. Can you trust the architect enough to believe that the door he slammed in your face was actually hiding a fire? In the next part, we will discuss redirection. We will look at how rejection is not a stop sign, but a steering mechanism. We will explore the idea that you can not find the right coordinates if you are holding on to the wrong map. How does the ship get from London to New York? You might think it sets a course of 270 degrees west and just goes straight. That is incorrect, due to wind, waves, and currents. The ship is actually off course about 90% of the time. The captain and the autopilot are constantly making small adjustments. Left to right, left again. This process is called cybernetics, the science of communications and automatic control systems in both machines and living things. The core principle of cybernetics is that you cannot reach a destination without negative feedback. You need to know where you are not supposed to go to find out where you are supposed to go. When God removes a person, He is providing negative feedback. He is saying, not this way, correct course, 10 degrees to the right. You perceive the breakup as a crash. God perceives it as a course correction. If that person had stayed, you would have drifted hundreds of miles off course. You would have ended up in a destination that looked nothing like your destiny. The pain of the separation is simply the friction of the rudder turning the ship. We all know the voice of the GPS. You miss your exit on the highway. What does the machine do? Does it shut down? Does it say, "You idiot, you ruined the trip, I'm deleting myself"? No doar. It is recalculating. It immediately looks for the next best route to get you to the same destination from your new location. When a person leaves, you feel like your trip is over. You think, my plan is ruined. Your plan is ruined. But your destination is not. God is the ultimate GPS. The moment that person walked out, He recalculated the route. Okay, option A, marriage with this person, is blocked. Recalculating. Option B, single season, focus on career, meet new partner in 2 years, is now the fastest route. The problem is that you are still staring at the blocked exit. You are parked on the shoulder of the highway, crying over the exit you missed, while God has already highlighted the new on-ramp 500 meters ahead. Why is it so hard to move on? Because you are trying to navigate a new territory using an old map. The person who left was part of the map for the previous level of your life. They made sense there. They fit the geography of who you used to be. But you have entered a new terrain. The mountains are higher. The valleys are deeper. The old map doesn't work here. If you try to use it, you will walk off a cliff. God removes people when they become obsolete data. It sounds cold, but it is necessary. You cannot find new treasure with a map that only shows places you have already been. Finally, consider the physics of a hallway. If all the doors are open, you drift. You wander into rooms you don't belong in. You waste time, but if you walk down a hallway and a door slams shut in your face, what happens? You stop, you turn, you look for another door. The no creates momentum. The rejection gives you the energy to move. Many of the most successful people in history, CEOs, artists, leaders will tell you that the greatest thing that ever happened to them was the person who fired them, or the partner who left them. That rejection was the kinetic energy that pushed them toward their true purpose. So, stop banging on the locked door. The lock is not jammed. It is working perfectly. It is locked for your protection. Turn around. The hallway continues. So, the person is gone. The text messages have stopped. The silence in your house is loud. You are in a state of panic. You want to fill the silence. You want to download a dating app. You want to call an old friend. You want to do something? Stop. You have entered what anthropologists call a liminal space. The word comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. It is the space between no longer and not yet. It is the hallway between the door that just slammed shut and the door that hasn't opened yet. This space is uncomfortable. It feels like anxiety. It feels like emptiness. But this space is where the magic happens. Think of a trapeze artist in the circus. To move from one bar to the next, there is a terrifying moment where he must let go of the first bar. For a split second, he is holding nothing. He is floating in midair. He has no support. If he refuses to let go of the first bar, he can never catch the second. He just swings back and forth, going nowhere. Right now, you are in mid-air. You have let go of the past, or it was ripped from your hands, but you haven't caught the future yet. Most people panic here. They flail their arms. They try to grab the old bar again, or they grab the first person they see falling past them. This is a mistake. The mid-air phase is where you build the momentum to catch the higher bar. If you rush this phase, you fall. Why does God force you into the solitude? Why can't He just send the new person immediately? Because of neuroplasticity. Your brain has been wired to the old person. Your neural pathways are shaped like them. You have habits, reactions, and triggers that were built for that specific relationship. If you jump immediately into a new connection, you are not starting fresh. You are simply copy-pasting your old trauma onto a new person. You will treat the new partner like the old partner. You will react to them based on old fears. You will recreate the exact same toxic dynamic, just with a different face. Solitude is the system reboot. You need a period of time where your brain receives zero social input from a partner. This silence allows the old neural pathways to weaken synaptic pruning and gives you the blank slate necessary to build something new. Society tells you the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. This is biological suicide. A rebound relationship is like taking a painkiller for a broken leg and then trying to run a marathon. You aren't healed, you are just numb. And because you are numb, you are doing more damage to the bone. When you use another person to distract you from your pain, you are using a human being as a drug. It is selfish and it delays your own evolution. God isolates you so you can detox. He wants you to learn how to generate your own dopamine, so you never again have to beg someone else for it. Consider the caterpillar. Before it becomes a butterfly, it enters a cocoon. Inside that cocoon, it doesn't just grow wings. It literally dissolves into goo. It completely breaks down its old structure before rebuilding itself into a new one. You are in the goo phase. You feel messy. You feel formless. You don't know who you are anymore. Good. You aren't supposed to know. You are being reconstituted. Do not disturb the process. Do not rip open the cocoon prematurely by seeking attention. If you do, you will die as a caterpillar. You will never fly. First, a linguistic correction. You are not suffering from loneliness. You are experiencing solitude. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. It is a state of lack. Solitude is the glory of being alone. It is a state of fullness. In solitude, you are not empty. You are free. You are not without people. You are with yourself. This is the laboratory where you perform the most important operation of your life. Metanoia, the word repentance in the Bible, comes from the Greek word meta. Meta equals beyond/after. Noia equals mind. It literally means a shift of mind. It doesn't just mean saying sorry. It means fundamentally changing the software that runs your reality. Why is this necessary before you meet the next person? Because of a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, RAS. The RAS, why you keep dating the same person? The RAS is a filter at the base of your brain. It decides what information gets through to your conscious mind. If you buy a red Tesla, suddenly you see red Teslas everywhere. Did everyone buy one yesterday? No. They were always there, but your RAS was ignoring them. Now that you are focused on it, your RAS highlights them. Here is the horror story. If your RAS is programmed for rejection, drama, or validation, you will scan a room of 100 people and be attracted only to the one person who will hurt you. You will walk right past the healthy, kind, stable partner because your RAS tags them as invisible or boring. You will gravitate toward the toxic person because they feel familiar. If you do not use this time of solitude to reprogram your RAS, you will simply find a new actor to play the same role in the same tragedy. Also, how do we perform metanoia? How do we reprogram the RAS? You treat this void like a boot camp. Here is your protocol for the void. When you sit in silence, the mud in your mind settles and the water becomes clear. You start to hear your own voice again. Why did I ignore the red flags? What insecurity in me needed their validation? What is the common denominator in all my failed relationships? Hint. It's you. Write it. Don't bring the subconscious into the conscious. 3. Visualization of the new standard. Tell your RAs what to look for. Don't just say, I want a good partner. Be specific. I want someone who is emotionally regulated. Someone who values growth. Someone who speaks with kindness. Visualize it. Feel it. By doing this, you are programming your brain to spot these traits in the wild. You are teaching your internal radar to ping on health instead of toxic. The danger of aborting the update. Imagine your computer is at 35% an update and you rip the power cord out. What happens? The system corrupts. It crashes. When you feel the urge to text your ex or to go out and get drunk to forget, you are ripping the power cord out. You are aborting the update at 35%. If you do this, you will have to start over from 0% next time. Stay in the chair. Let the progress bar finish. Let the pain burn off the impurities. When the update is complete, you won't need to chase anyone. You will emit a different signal. And as we know from physics, a different signal attracts a different frequency. If you stay in the void, if you endure the withdrawal, if you let the update finish, something incredible happens. You wake up one day and the silence doesn't feel like loneliness anymore. It feels like peace. You look at your phone and you don't feel the urge to text them. The addiction is broken. The phantom limb pain is gone. You have successfully completed the pruning process. You have removed the dead branches. You have endured the winter. Now, spring begins, and this is where the magic happens. Although, as we know, it is not magic. It is mechanics. Because you have reprogrammed your reticular activating system. And because you are vibrating at a new frequency, let's say 880 Hertz instead of 440 Hertz, you suddenly become visible to a completely different caliber of human being. You walk into a coffee shop and you strike up a conversation with someone. In the past, you would have been bored by them because they weren't toxic enough to spike your adrenaline. Now, you find their stability attractive. You start meeting people who talk about ideas, not people. You meet people who celebrate your wins instead of competing with them. You meet people who have also survived the pruning. You didn't find them. You matched with them. They were always there, but you couldn't see them because you were too busy staring at the closed door of your past. There is one final step to solidify this upgrade. You must clear the remaining corrupted files. This is called forgiveness. Do not misunderstand me. Forgiveness does not mean what they did was okay. It does not mean you invite them back in. Forgiveness is a selfish act of intelligence. As long as you hold on to resentment, anger, or bitterness toward the person who left, you are running a background process called hate.exe. It uses 20% of your energy. It slows down your processing speed. Forgiveness is simply selecting that file and hitting delete. You do it to free up your own bandwidth. You do it so you can use 100% of your CPU for your future, not 20% for your past. Look at the person who hurt you mentally and say, "Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the contrast. I release you." Let's go back to Lucas, the man we met at the beginning. He thought he was a victim of bad luck. He thought God was punishing him. He thought he was unlovable. He was wrong. Lucas was being protected. He was being redirected. He was being upgraded. If you are watching this, you are not a victim of rejection. You are a recipient of divine selection. God saw the conversations you didn't hear. God saw the future you couldn't predict. God saw that your rocket was too heavy to reach orbit, so he cut the weight. Do not grieve the loss of the weight. You didn't lose people. You lost anchors. You didn't lose friends. You lost interference. The chair is empty. Do not panic. Do not let a clown sit in a seat reserved for a king. Wait, build, grow. The right person is on their way, and this time you will be healthy enough to recognize them. Class dismissed. It's over, but the growth has only just begun. Every week we bring you new tools to hack your mind and validate your spirit. If you don't want to miss the next level of your upgrade, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Welcome to the new frequency. This is Divine Neuro.